I would mention a couple of issues which are really imperative to any success in public life. Because in public life, especially in our service, we are working in a lot of gray areas where stakeholders are immense, and you're always open to criticism. Nothing is 2 + 2 4. Everywhere you take a decision and move on. So you need to have very strong risk appetite. You should be able to take big risks if you want to do some change in public administration. For example, in irrigation, when I joined, we had 94 irrigation projects worth 9,000 crore rupees, which were under deep investigation of Anti-Corruption Bureau, and I didn't have the files with me. The files were all taken away by the Anti-Corruption Bureau department. Now, how do I work there? Neither the contractor is available who has to perform the work, he's in jail, nor the engineer is available who is either in the jail or he's too demoralized to carry on the work because he thinks that if I make some additional payment with additional work, the AC will catch him also. You know, I went to the Honorable Chief Minister. I said, sir, let us do one major surgery. In those days, other scam had happened in Maharashtra in 2009-10. I said, these 94 projects, like 494 other buildings standing, they will never get completed. And for 20 years also, they will be just facing inquiries and projects will just linger on and people won't get water and everybody will be frustrated. So he said, what do you do? I said, sir, let us terminate these projects all midway. And we have a clause of foreclosure of tenders. And you have to be, secondly, you have to be very positive. You don't have to be vindictive. I said, sir, he said, people will go to court for 9,000 crore. They will claim 20,000 crores of damages if you take this step. I said, sir, let us do one thing. Let us be positive. Let us not blacklist these people. Let us not lodge affairs against them. Let us not get after them. Whatever is happening, let it continue. Law takes its own course. We invite these contractors and we'll do physical joint measurements and we'll do physical closure, financial closure, whatever work has happened. We'll pay them off and we'll clear the past baggage and we will invite bids afresh and complete the remaining portion of these projects. And I said, even if these contractors go to High Court, I said, what case they have? We'll tell the High Court that we have not blacklisted them, we have not prosecuted them, we have not lodged any fresh affair against them. They are free to compete again. In fact, we have paid them for whatever they have done. Otherwise, the payment wouldn't have come for 20 years. And I said, and in this process, we'll tell the High Court what the grievance is. And foreclosure is a right in the tender. Every tender has got a foreclosure clause. So that is our right. So I convinced the Honorable CM, I convinced the State Cabinet, and one fine day in September 16, we cancelled this 9,000 crore worth of tenders in a single day, which is unprecedented in the country. And that is what led to new tenders and completion of the 94 projects. Everybody was happy. No stakeholder was unhappy in this. And in fact, then Honorable CM made a public statement. He said we had made a commitment to our electorate that if we come to power, we will cancel these projects. Look, we have done it. Even they were also happy for what I did. And then similarly, you should have very like in COVID also. I always say, yesterday I had talked with Singapore stock investors for 3 hours in the evening. I said, we are the only one city in the entire world where we had, where no test report of COVID positive flows directly from the lab to the patient. All those come to us in line list at midnight, and we, through a ward war room, we announce to the patient, we visit the homes and lot beds at home. Now just imagine, we handled 730,000 reports in this fashion, where we had disconnected the lab from the patient. And just imagine, even a few labs reports would have gone missing, the patient wouldn't have got treatment because he wouldn't get a COVID bed. He couldn't have got admission in hospital because he had no report. He wouldn't have got treated. And if even a few of them would have died, they would have sued us. That because of Mr. Chahal's order, we didn't get COVID positive report and in timely treatment didn't happen and our relative, our so-and-so passed away. So he should be sued for his death. Look at the kind of risky decision we took. But we maintained rather sharp accuracy, and there's not a single complaint till today of 7.3 lakh cases of anybody not getting a report. Not even, although we did it last June, but not even one city in India or anywhere in the world, to my knowledge, have copied our idea, because there's a lot of risk involved. You need a lot of hard work and you need a lot of accuracy in this. But there is no panic in the city, because at midnight, when all the reports like 11,000 positive came, except us, nobody in the city knew who's positive. And next morning, these 11,000 were visited by a 24 ward room, 240 doctors, 240 ambulances. And from home, we picked them up and put them in the hospital beds. So we have been avoiding that panic. At 8 o'clock, we break open to the patient in the morning that you're COVID positive. By 8:30, we are at his home with a bed. So here also, you see, look at the risk we took, the risk appetite we had, that the reports shall not be shared from the lab to the patient. People went to Honorable Supreme Court of India against us. They said it is a patient right to get the report. We convinced the Supreme Court that, look, our turnaround time is just 16 hours maximum. Somebody getting tested at 8 p.m., we go to his home at 8 in the morning. Which city in India has turnaround time of 16 hours for COVID reports to reach the patient? It doesn't matter is going through us or directly. So ultimately, till today morning, that system is going on. So secondly, in public life, unless you have a risk appetite, you can't really perform and produce results. Next is, you have to be highly optimistic. I addressed 182 IAS officers of 2019 batch in Mussoorie Academy, our Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, last month. So there were 182 of them, 2019 batch. Now recently, last month, they have been now posted as SDMs and deputy collectors all over the country. I told them also, I said, in public life is so difficult to deliver. People come with 20-year, 30-year, 40-year-old their land issues, which people come with the huge files, hundreds or minders, work still not done. I said, unless you have a bent of mind and you have a resolve that if 10 people meet me today, I'm going to try and make sure that 10 or 10 work gets done. And I'll put myself into the shoes that if I was in his place, who's coming here and nth time for the same work, how would I feel if my work is not done and if my work is done? And unless you have that type of attitude, still we won't be able to help everybody. Maybe still only 3 or 4 or 5 out of 10 you will be able to help, because it is so difficult to help and the issues are so complicated. But I said, if you are highly optimistic, if you're highly positive, and if you have this kind of attitude, then you may partly succeed. But if you look at people's suspicion, and if you are little callous, then nothing is to happen. 10 or 10 people won't be helped. So next attribute in public life is that you have to be aggressively positive, and you have to be highly optimistic. So being an optimist, being positive, taking risk, and believing that anything is possible, all these things really help you.